bump, the grind, the gyration.
Butler with the Heat down 2, waiting. 2 seconds left. Butler for the tie, lays it in. Jimmy buckets.
This is Jimmy Butler in 2023. 8th seed, NBA Finals. Impossible? Not for playoff Jimmy. The man who dragged undrafted nobodies past Giannis, past Tatum, past every doubter who said Miami was done. 2 final runs in 5 years. 3 conference finals. The living, breathing soul of Heat culture. Then Miami stabbed him in the back. This isn't just about a trade, this is about a franchise that forgot what made them special, a front office that confused loyalty with weakness, and a collapse so spectacular that makes you wonder if Pat Riley lost his damn mind. Because what happened to Jimmy Butler in Miami was a pathetic betrayal. What you're about to witness is the systematic destruction of everything the Miami Heat built over 5 years. A betrayal so complete, so perfectly orchestrated, that it reads like a cautionary tale written by the basketball gods themselves. Because when you turn your back on loyalty, when you mistake ego for wisdom, when you convince yourself that your star player is replaceable, the game has a way of teaching you otherwise. Let's rewind to what actually happened. In 2019, Butler signed with Miami for one reason. He believed in Heat culture. The 4 a.m. workouts, the conditioning tests that made grown men puke, the relentless pursuit of excellence that Dwayne Wade built and Pat Riley perfected. From 2019 to 2024, Butler averaged 21.3 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 5.7 assists across 5 seasons. Those aren't just numbers. They're the statistics of a man carrying an entire organization on his shoulders. In 2020, he dragged a roster with 0 other All-Stars to the finals, going blow for blow with LeBron James in the bubble. In 2023, he did the impossible again, 8th seed to the finals, torching every team in his path. That 2023 playoff run was pure artistry. Butler averaged 26.9 points on 46.8% shooting across 22 games. Against Milwaukee, he dropped 37.6 points per game, including a 56-point masterpiece in Game 4 that had Giannis shaking his head in disbelief. Against Boston, he outplayed Jason Tatum when it mattered most. This wasn't luck, this was playoff Jimmy at his apex, turning Heat culture from a marketing slogan into a way of life. The Casillas Center was electric. Fans believed. Undrafted players like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus became playoff legends because Butler made them believe they belonged. Heat culture was alive and thriving. Jimmy Butler had saved Miami basketball. Unfortunately, while things were better than ever on the court, behind the scenes, something was rotting. A max extension. In the 2024 season, Butler, entering the final year of his $146 million contract, made a reasonable request. A max extension. He was 34, still elite, and had given Miami 5 years of playoff heroics. Any rational franchise would have said yes immediately. Pat Riley said no. At a July 2024 press conference, Riley went public with his criticism. He questioned Butler's availability, pointing to his 60-game season in 23 through 24 due to various injuries. The message was clear: we don't think you're worth the money. Butler's response was swift and brutal. If he'd been healthy, Miami would have beaten Boston or New York. Riley didn't like being called out and fired back, creating a rift that would poison everything. Think about the insanity of this moment. Your franchise player, the guy who carried you to the finals, asked for job security, and your response is to publicly question his commitment? Riley had become so comfortable with his own legend that he forgot the most basic rule of championship teams. You take care of your stars, and they take care of you. By December 2024, Butler's joy for basketball in Miami was gone. The man who once lived for Heat culture was going through the motions. In January 2025, he officially requested a trade. February 6, 2025 will go down as the day that Heat culture died. Miami traded Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, Kyle Anderson, and a top 10 protected 25 first-round pick that ended up being the 20th overall selection. Hear that again. They traded a 6-time All-Star, a playoff assassin, a man who embodied everything they claimed to stand for Andrew Wiggins and spare parts. This wasn't just a bad trade, this felt like a cardinal sin. Butler was averaging 20.8 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 5.0 assists on 49.1% shooting before the trade. He was still elite at 35, still clutch, still the one guy on Miami's roster who could take over a playoff game. And they swapped him for Wiggins, who was averaging 13.2 points and had become a role player on Golden State? Now let's break down what Miami actually got. Wiggins, a former All-Star who lost his way, now shooting 42.1% from the field. Mitchell, a defensive specialist who couldn't hit shots, shooting 39.8% overall. Anderson, a 33-year-old journeyman whose best days were behind him. And that draft pick? In a weak draft class, the 20th pick historically produces role players, not stars. Miami didn't just trade Butler, they traded their identity, their playoff hopes, and their future for a collection of players who wouldn't start on most contending teams. This was Pat Riley betting against his own legacy, gambling that Heat culture could survive without the man who had become its present-day embodiment. What happened next was predictable, yet devastating. Miami went 12-21 after the Butler trade, a pace that would have put them among one of the worst teams in the NBA. Their offense, which put 112.3 points per 100 possessions with Butler, plummeted to 106.8 without him. Now, to be fair, it's not a huge decline, but in a game of numbers, that makes all the difference. Their defense collapsed to 22nd in the lead, allowing 116.7 points per 100 possessions. Butler had generated 38% of Miami's offense through his own scoring or assist. Without him, they had no one who could create shots in crunch time, no one who would will them to victory when talent wasn't enough. Tyler Hero stepped up admirably, earning his first All-Star selection with 23.9 points and 5.5 assists per game, but asking a 25-year-old to replace Jimmy Butler in February was like asking a college freshman to perform surgery. Miami finished 37-37, their worst record since LeBron James left in 2014. They limped into the playoffs as 10th seed and got absolutely obliterated by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Their series wasn't competitive from the opening tip. Game 4 was a 138-83 massacre, a 55-point loss that set an NBA playoff record for futility. Fans were leaving in the third quarter, and players were looking defeated. Now, while Miami was imploding, Jimmy Butler was thriving in Golden State. After the February trade, the Warriors went 23-7 with Butler in the lineup. He averaged 19.4 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 4.9 assists on 48.2% shooting, seamlessly fitting into their championship culture. The man Miami claimed was washed up and injury-prone played 30 games without major issues, looking refreshed and motivated. In the playoffs, Butler reminded everyone why they call him Playoff Jimmy. He dropped 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 steals in Game 1 against Houston, showing flashes of the dominant two-way player who terrorized the Eastern Conference for 5 years. A glute injury sidelined him for Game 3, but he returned for Game 5, though his 17 points on 4 of 11 shooting couldn't prevent a second-round upset to Minnesota. Even in defeat, Butler's impact was undeniable. Golden State players praised his leadership, his work ethic, his championship mentality. Everything Miami claimed they could replace, Golden State embraced. The Warriors didn't win a championship, but they got further than Miami did, and they did it with the player that Miami threw away. The cruel irony? Butler signed a 2-year, $120 million extension with Golden State in the offseason, getting the max deal he would have wanted from Miami all along. The man who bled for Heat culture was now getting paid like the superstar he'd always been, just not by the team he carried for 5 years. Now, Pat Riley tried to spin the disaster. There's no doubt that what's happened with Jimmy had a tremendous impact on our team, he said after the Cavaliers sweep, as if Butler's departure was an act of God rather than organizational incompetence. Riley cited Butler's suspensions, 3 in 24 through 2025 season, including a 7-game ban for conduct detrimental to the team, as justification for the trade. But let's examine those suspensions, shall we? Butler was benched for missing a team flight, suspended for walking out of practice when he was demoted, and hit with indefinite suspension after public criticism of the organization. Those weren't character flaws, They were the actions of a frustrated star who'd give everything to a franchise that refused to show him basic respect. The fans saw through Riley's spin immediately. Season ticket renewals dropped 16% after the trade, according to Miami Herald reports. Social media engagement fell 19%, with #FireRiley trending after the playoff sweep. The numbers don't lie. Miami playoff drought began the moment they traded their franchise player. The young players, Nikola Jokic, their young players, who were supposed to step up, either got injured or regress. Bam Adebayo, Miami's supposed cornerstone, averaged 19.3 points, but he couldn't lead without Butler's fire. The next man up mentality that had defined Heat culture felt hollow when there was no one capable of stepping up. Unfortunately, this isn't Miami's first mistake. It's a pattern that dates back years. They let Dwayne Wade walk in 2016 over contract disputes, forcing their franchise icon to finish his career in Chicago and Cleveland before returning for a farewell tour. They lowballed Butler in 2024, repeating the same mistake but with different stakes. The Heat built their reputation on loyalty and culture, but their actions tell a different story. When push comes to shove, when stars want market value for their contributions, Miami's front office chooses penny pinching over proven quality. They'd rather be right about the money than the basketball. Pat Riley built a legacy on understanding that championship teams require sacrifice. From players, from coaches, from front offices. But somewhere along the way, he forgot that sacrifice has to go both ways. You can't ask players to leave money on the table while refusing to invest in the tools they need to win. You can't preach culture while failing to build sustainable success. But maybe there's hope. Maybe Tyler Hero develops into a legitimate franchise player. Maybe Bam Adebayo finds another gear. Maybe a star becomes available who actually wants to play in Miami. Maybe their draft picks develop faster than expected. But hope requires more than just wishful thinking. It requires Miami to admit that they were wrong about Butler, wrong about their roster construction, wrong about prioritizing cost savings over championship windows. It requires them to understand that Heat culture isn't a marketing slogan. It's a commitment to excellence that must be backed by actions, not words. The basketball gods don't forget organizational betrayals. They remember when franchises abandon their principles for short-term thinking. They remember when loyalty becomes a one-way street, and they have long memories for teams that mistake arrogance for wisdom. Right now, Jimmy Butler is in Golden State, still chasing championships at age 35. Miami is picking up the pieces of a shattered season, wondering how they went from finals contenders to lottery team in less than 2 years. The answer to that is simple. They chose pride over pragmatism, ego over excellence, and cost-cutting over championships. Right now, though, this stands as one of the most spectacular organizational failures in modern sports history. The basketball gods have long memory, and they don't forgive easily. Jimmy Butler deserved better. Heat culture deserved better. Miami fans deserved better. But what do you think? Was this the worst decision in the NBA, including when the Mavericks traded Luka Doncic? Can anyone on the current roster step up and save this franchise? Or are the Heat destined for years of irrelevance? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you believe in basketball karma, and subscribe for more unfiltered NBA breakdowns that tells the story that nobody else will. Until next time, keep watching, because in the NBA, the next collapse is always just one trade away.